camera.
A weird like.
Yeah.
No, I do have that. Whenever I have that though, so we're live.
Okay.
So whenever I do have that, I'm always like looking down like this, not at the camera though. Whenever it's just whenever I can't see myself.
Yeah, thank you for telling me we're live. So.
Well, I mean, there's a hot mic. I mean, there's been a couple occasions where there's a hot mic and I never disconnected, and it's like, all right, let's cut the mic before we start talking. So, I guess we're live right now. I want to welcome everybody on this cold, frigid Friday afternoon. It's Friday, February 4th. It's 3 o'clock, 3:02. We're giving you about 2 minutes to kind of catch up with us, and we are recording this. Not even recording this. Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
We are exquisite. We are broadcasting this. How about that? Because I feel like this is a broadcast, right? We're broadcasting this from. We all live in the Heights. If y'all live around here, if y'all don't live around here, I'd make the trip in here, check it out. Very knowledgeable staff, great people, great service, great selection of wines. We are sharing a bottle of Son of a Butcher right now, which is it's a nice blend. It's a nice blend.
Really
Great
like
for this cold afternoon in Houston right now. If we are live, if anyone wants to chime in, just kind of let us know where you're kind of viewing from. If not, let's kind of get this going. Let me just see if let me check LinkedIn, make sure we're live. It's dragging. Okay, we're live on LinkedIn. Okay, well, good deal.
Jackpot.
So you know what? Here's the deal. Let's be honest here, Gilbert. It's Friday. It's 3 o'clock. You know, there's probably a lot of people that didn't go to work today at the house. We got first off, let's talk about technology right now. We got Justin Brignac tuning in. Hello from an airplane somewhere over Texas. So the fact that I think this is our first viewer to ever tune in 30,000 feet in the sky. So Justin, hey, safe travels. And I heard actually Southwest is I think they just started with booze again on their flights. I think it was allowed on the flights for like 2 years. So I think this is the first year, the first day they're having it back on. That's just what I heard. That's the rumors on the street. So Justin, safe travels, amigo. Hope your trip was well, and wherever you're going, you land safe and all that stuff. So again, I want to say we're just gonna have a conversation today, as usual. It's not a breakfast run, but it kind of we'll call it a breakfast run.
It's a brunch lunch.
It's a later. Yeah. It's a dinner.
It's a Friday
dinner, lunch and dinner. Yeah, exactly. So again, everyone, I want to thank y'all for tuning in, and if y'all chime in, if there's any lag and all that stuff, say hello where you're tuning in from. Love to have you on. And for those that don't know who's sitting next to me right now, this is Brett Gilbert, aka Gilbert. All right, and I didn't realize that he only went by Gilbert probably until about 2 months after I got to know him. I see him introduced himself as Gilbert, so now I know it's Gilbert. So we call him Gilbert now. All right, we're keeping it real. Yeah, you know, someone said shouldn't be called a cookie run. This absolutely should be called a cookie run, but to keep kind of consistency, we're calling it breakfast run. I mean, I don't want to change because I'm also going to be introducing something else coming forward. It's going to be called Coffee and Beans, where I'm sitting with service oilfield service companies, startups, tech companies. I'll be doing that bamboozled game. So it's going to be something different. You know the bamboozled game, the jelly bean? So like you'll have like one jelly bean, like there's two of the same colors. Like you'll have one, and I'll have one, like one will taste like strawberry, one will taste like cat piss. Oh. And it's just like, you never heard that bamboozled? Oh, it's good. It's fun. So it's going to be just something to kind of, it's going to be educational and entertaining. So that's kind of the best way to go. We have John Simmons, wine for breakfast. Hey, man, that's what the French do. That's what we're doing, right? See, and you've actually lived international before as well.
Yes, once. In Denmark. Yeah.
So, and we're going to get into that here in a little bit. Because I'm very curious to kind of get into kind of not what you just do for our industry, but also kind of like your side life, if you will, and all that stuff. We got Michael tuning in from Oklahoma City. Mike, I was supposed to see you this week. The weather came in. We had to push it back. So thanks for tuning in. Michael, I appreciate that, and I hope you're staying warm up there and safe. All right, now this is my kind of breakfast run, so I'm guessing wine might be viewed positively in this light.
I think so. And my grandma always says, it's 11:30 somewhere.
11:30. Yeah, so that was the time.
She's retired. Yeah.
It's a different time. So like, I picked my daughter up today from her mom's home, and her mom and stepdad's home, and she gets in the car. She's like, "Hey, Dad," she's like, "I can't stand this weather." And I'm like, "Why not?" She's like, "It takes like a whole 20 seconds for the water to warm up." I'm like, "Oh my God, you poor baby. That's so rough." I mean, 20 whole seconds. Like, God forbid the pioneers before us, the people that actually have tough. Okay, but 20 seconds, poor thing. All right. Grant Anderson, hello from Katy, Texas. Hello, Grant. How you doing today? So, again, everyone, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. But you know what? We're just going to have a conversation like we normally do here on Breakfast Friends. So, again, this is Brett Gilbert with a drilling engineer of Haynesville in South Texas with Trinity Operating. And we met through Crew Club.
Yep.
Actually.
John Dinkins.
John Dinkins with Arsenal.
Yes, sir.
Invited you, and next thing you know, fireworks happen, and here we are today, sipping wine for breakfast. So I'm digging that. So, hey, real quick, let's get this kicked off. Why don't you give us an elevator spiel of kind of a little bit of your background, kind of where you grew up, and kind of what your previous position, kind of where you're at now. Let's do a little intro, and then we'll start talking.
So originally from Arkansas, thus the accent. A lot of people catch on to my accent.
Do they know you're from Arkansas?
No, they just know I'm not from Texas. They're like, you're from the South, but not from here.
Not the Texas South. Okay, all right.
So came down here because I wanted to get in the oil field, and nobody in Arkansas gets in the oil field. So
why'd you want to get in the oil field from Arkansas?
So I was working in a coal mine.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't see a whole lot of opportunity here. But at that time, Fayetteville Shale was exploding.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what this is, but it seems like a pretty good gig to get into. And
so tell me about working in a coal mine. I mean, that's kind of...
It wasn't underground mining. It was strip pit mining.
Okay. All right.
But I actually got on with this company when I was like 14, mowing the owners' yards.
All right.
And then as I got older, got into engineering school, they just kept giving me more and more responsibilities. And
I never knew that, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I worked in a coal mine starting 14, and then I was in undergrad, and I was trying to figure out how to get in the oil field, and I was like, well, I guess I'll move to Texas.
And so let's go back again. I think you probably already glazed over this. So what was the calling besides the career trajectory at the coal mine? What was the main catalyst to kind of bring you over to the oil field, the patch, if you will?
Really, I got a undergraduate degree in civil engineering.
Okay.
And I thought, well, petroleum engineers make a lot more money than civil engineers, and it's all the same thing, whether it's a steel I-beam going up in the sky or a steel pipe going down in the ground, whether it's soil that's 20 feet down or...
So you see a lot of you see more similarities.
Oh, it's very similar.
Okay, so it's easy transferable skills.
Easy.
Okay, all right, I'm with you.
So, I really came down here. I got my master's at A&M, which is kind of a funny story because I actually had my applications ready to go to OU, Texas. I was even applying to University of Alaska Fairbanks because I thought living in Alaska would be cool.
That would be cool, man.
Yeah, I definitely think that would have been cool. But I was so broke my senior year of college, A&M was the only one that took Discover Card.
Oh, really?
And so I put my application on my Discover Card, and next thing you know, I got accepted. And
that's how actually A&M recruits a lot. So,
yeah.
We take plastic.
Yeah,
we take
exactly.
Plastic. Yeah, don't worry about it. Bad credit, sign up.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. And yeah, the rest is history.
So you got your undergrad in civil engineering from Arkansas?
Arkansas.
From Arkansas. Okay, and then you went back to get your master's petroleum engineering.
Yes.
From A&M.
Yes.
Okay, so what was the break between, I guess, your undergrad and your...
Oh, I went straight in.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, okay.
So that summer between undergrad and grad school, I actually worked on a drilling and blasting crew, doing highway jobs.
Okay.
And again, working in rock quarries and coal mines, and that was a good time. And
So you're no stranger to tough work.
No, that was a miserable summer.
You don't mind. You don't mind 20 seconds for the water heat up.
No.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So so you graduate, you got your master's, and let's hear. We got a good little diss right now from Derek looking JP looking Tron from Hogwarts. Sorry, man. I think that's a Harry Potter reference because it's a tie. I feel like, but sorry. Thanks, Derek, for tuning in anyway, brother.
It's like, okay, I didn't get it either. So
I don't know, whatever. So we're not that style. So so you graduate. Now what? Where do you go?
So I originally went straight to Statoil.
Okay.
And I went to Statoil wanting to work internationally.
Yeah.
Straight into the drilling route. That was always kind of my calling.
Okay.
And joined Statoil. Got to go to Norway twice. And
How's that?
That was awesome.
So you kind of had that itch, like you wanted to travel, see the world and all that stuff. Single, I'm assuming.
No. So I got married straight out of college.
That's a very A&M thing to do.
Yes, and my wife is from Baylor, which apparently it's a very Baylor thing to do
that's
as well.
That's a huge Baylor thing. I think that's where A&M got it from Baylor, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of connections there.
Okay.
So yeah, I got married straight out of school.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the invite, but anyway, not a big deal.
Yeah, sorry about that. And then 2 months later, we got pregnant.
Okay.
So didn't really wait too long there.
So, all right. So you go to Statoil, you go to Norway a couple times. You dig in the drilling side of things.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so Statoil was a great company to start off with. Great training programs. Now Equinor, of course. But great training programs. They send you to Norway for some development training. They let you go offshore. Like I went offshore for a little bit.
First off, so I started off offshore. Mm-hmm. Offshore Gulf of Mexico is very different than offshore North Sea.
Oh, yes.
Extremely when it comes to the safety protocols, the training, the big shit you got to wear to kind of it's different. It's the next level.
Yeah. And it was very different than unconventionals. I mean, so I very quickly decided I liked unconventionals more than offshore.
Okay.
Because just the pace of things.
Okay. It was a lot quicker. Offshore is like 2 years to plan.
Yeah.
Onshore, it's 2 months to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I just really like crushing out wells.
Okay.
So that was kind of what attracted me to the unconventionals.
I dig it.
And so after coming back from Norway, I got an opportunity to go to Australia, but I was actually gone with the Army at that time. So
the Army. Okay. So let's kind of, first off, thank you for your service.
Well, thank you.
You have to say that. You do.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So tell me about this. So where did the Army kind of come into play right now? Because where did this happen?
And so my dad was in the Army for 26 years.
Okay.
Retired as a lieutenant colonel, and part of that was in the Oklahoma National Guard.
All right.
So I get married, joined Statoil, and I had actually tried to join the military at different times in my past, but opportunities kept coming up, honestly.
So it was one of the things, it wasn't the right time to do
it.
it.
Okay. Really wasn't. Right. So I graduated, got a job. My wife is actually a couple weeks pregnant, and I'm like, I think now is the time. So
there's nothing else on my plate right now. Might as well go. Might as well go Army. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So my first son was 6 weeks old when I went off to basic training at Fort Benning.
I'll tell you what, she's a hand.
Yeah.
She's a hand. Take care of 6 months?
6 weeks.
6 week old. Okay.
Fresh baby.
All right. Yes.
Yeah. So went off to basic training and came back.
And so, okay, so let's talk. So real quick, I mean, we can get into this a little bit. So tell me kind of your experience kind of doing, the National Guard and kind of, I guess, what the time commitment of that and kind of how long you've been doing that and the cool stuff, the places you've been. How about that?
So I've gotten to do some pretty cool stuff with the Army, but that whole, you join the National Guard and it's advertised as 1 weekend a month.
And 2 weeks this summer and you're good. Yeah.
Yeah, not true.
Okay.
Well, at least not true for me.
Okay.
I got on with a little bit of a more high-speed unit, so not a lot of people know this, but Texas has the only airborne battalion in the National Guard. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, 100% airborne, only 100% airborne battalion in the National Guard. So I go through OCS, so I become an officer.
Yep.
Immediately go to airborne school, and then come back and I become a platoon leader, PL, which is actually eerily similar to being a drilling engineer. Like,
how?
You have your platoon sergeants, which would be the equivalent of the company men.
Yep.
You have your team leaders and squad leaders, which would be like the equivalent of tool pushers and drillers. Okay. They have a lot more experience than you, but yet
you need to rely on them.
Oh, 100%.
And then if you walk in acting like you know everything, and you're gonna
cut you down.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And so, but as the drilling engineer or as the PL, you're responsible for putting together the plan that's going to be executed ultimately by the enlisted. And so that was. I mean, it's crazy how eerily my roles in the Army and my roles in
how similar
they are.
You know what? I was talking to another guy from Arkansas, Andrew Taylor. Andrew, if you're watching, love you, miss you, brother. He's up in he moved back to Arkansas, and he got into the poultry.
Okay. Very big in Arkansas.
Yeah, Tysons, and I was kind of talking to him. He said, it's very, what I'm doing now is very similar to kind of what I was doing when I was a drilling engineer. Like, if something goes down, it's a rig that goes down. You get out there and you talk to the managers out there, and that's your company man out there that you're talking to. So he could see the similarities too between kind of old field and kind of his new role outside the industry. Was that your first experience leading, being a leader of a team?
Probably. I mean, as far as in a professional setting, in a setting like that, yes.
So what kind of, I mean, you take on that role, you're leading people, you're 25, 26 probably, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
something around that.
Something around that.
And now you're put in this position of leadership in the Army. And what was that a big shock for you? I mean, kind of where was the biggest learning curve you had to you learn?
Honestly, so just my background, I was growing up, all the people that I'm in the Army with and all the people that I work on the rig with, those are my people.
Yeah.
Like I grew up in that environment. So working with them is seamless, not an issue. I'd say the biggest shock was actually working through all the layers of bureaucracy within the Army.
Okay.
So you have your commanders, you have the battalion staff, you have that. That was a huge shock to me, learning how to kind of
navigate,
and navigate the politics. And that was something that I struggled with for a while. And for the most part, I mean, I've been with my battalion now since 2016.
And so you're still in the Guard.
Yeah.
And so this is what, 10 years ago?
9 years.
9 years ago. Okay, and you're still doing it. That's impressive.
Well, thank you.
I dig that.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah. But so that was a real big shock there. On the drilling side, it's learning everybody's lanes and everybody's roles and responsibilities.
Okay.
And once you get that down, what is your lane and what is their lane and where those lanes intersect and where they need you really, then everything works seamlessly. But if you overstep your lane into somebody else's lane, obviously you get corrected very quickly.
Okay.
Especially as a young engineer, young PL.
I can imagine that. I mean, as these, younger engineers graduate, then they say that then they're watching rigs and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Maybe they've been to the field for 2 years, maybe if that these days. And it's always one of those things that you kind of like watch and observe and all that stuff, and you're hoping like, man, you have a great team out there. Rely on the expertise of the team. Don't rely on your title. Don't get your ego wrapped up in your title. We're kind of telling people who've been doing that for 25 years what to do because you have a degree.
And honestly, that's not your role. The role of a drilling engineer is put together a plan, I do not call up my company men and tell them, hey, you need to put more weight on the bit. You need to increase your RPM. I do not micromanage because that's why we pay them. They're the experts. I will give them all the support, all the data to back up why we should be doing certain things a certain way. But ultimately, it is not my job, the way I see it, to sit there and micromanage them and tell them how to do their job.
You're not in the break. You're not there. They are.
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
I dig it. All right. So the coolest places in the Army that you kind of been to and kind of experienced.
So I've been to Germany twice.
Okay.
Which I love Germany. Germany's a great country.
Germany's great.
Been to Poland once, which surprisingly awesome. Loved Poland.
So if the 2 weeks a year and all that stuff, how are you squeezing in these?
So these were not 2 week trips.
That's what I'm getting to.
So each time I went to Europe, it was for 3 weeks.
Okay.
Minimum.
All right.
And then I went to Romania once, which if you ever think about going to Romania, go ahead and skip.
Really?
Yeah, I was not a fan of Romania.
Okay. Why?
Honestly, the people were usually you go into these countries and for the most part, everybody's at least hospitable.
Right.
And in Romania, you felt a real animosity. Like there was one time we just went into a McDonald's and it was just like,
really?
These people.
Okay.
And I mean, some of them have a bad taste in their mouth from previous rotations of soldiers because sometimes soldiers like rig hands don't always behave themselves. But for the most part, you go to Germany, you go to Poland.
Pretty welcoming.
And fairly welcoming.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
But no, I've had, for the most part, great experiences.
And so how much longer are you going to be doing the reserves?
I think this is the year I get out.
Okay.
It's about time.
10 years. That's a good amount, man. That's quite some time. I mean, you've had a whole life in those 10 years, family, jobs. Okay, so let's get back to the wolf. Let's get back to the patch, if you will. All right, so Statoil, you joined the Army, you got your firstborn, right? So tell me about kind of, and you realize you kind of like the unconventional, like the onshore stuff, the pace of play is faster, the decisions are made quicker. Go on.
So
walk me through.
Statoil, first I was working up in Appalachia,
which
was great. I love Appalachia. Worked up there for a couple of years, first on the rigs, then in the office.
Okay.
And another great thing Statoil had is they had an extremely talented group of engineering supervisors.
Okay.
And to this day, they're all drilling managers elsewhere.
I love seeing that. I love seeing like that. Those younger engineers or whoever it is at whether it's a service side or an operator, And the next thing you know, like that company kind of breaks apart and they all just move up the ranks elsewhere.
Yeah.
I love seeing that.
And it has been really good because I've kept in contact with all those guys.
Right.
And to this day, if I need advice, I can call up any number of them that were mentoring me when I was first getting into the oil field. I can call them up at any point and say, hey, I need help. What do you think about this? Whether it's career advice or technical advice.
Right. Okay.
So
mentorship's a big thing kind of in your development.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Are you actively mentoring now, or?
I mean, I always have mentors. I mean, people that mentored me. Honestly, in my current role, I really don't have too many mentees because every engineer I work with right now is about at my same level.
Okay. All right.
So, but at Marathon, it was a great opportunity. So I went saddle Marathon.
Okay.
At Marathon, it was a great
opportunity. Were you in Houston Marathon?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
So at Marathon, it was a great opportunity because they actively do that. They brought in interns. They brought in new hires. And that's when you really get to see engineers develop.
Do you still talk to any of those mentees back in the day?
More or less, but actually quite a few of them with this last downturn got out of the oil field.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, a wide range of them. We have them working for Amazon, working for Bessie, working for...
You saw a lot of that, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, this time they had only been in the oil field for less than a year.
And then they
get cut.
So it's like, it's tough to market yourself after that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So Marathon, then what?
Then I left Marathon and went to Trinity.
And so we are caught up today at Trinity. Mm-hmm. All right. So how long have you been at Trinity for?
I've been at Trinity a year in March.
Okay. Oh, shit. That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So oil's at what right now? 92?
90 and change. Yeah.
90 and change right now. Okay. So what are your thoughts on kind of, and look, if you had anything to bring it up with me. I'm just kind of like pinging up kind of like the highlights on, what people are kind of seeing in the news and kind of getting your feedback on this. So, okay. So oil's kind of teetering above 90 right now. I personally don't see it slowing down. I see it continue to rise, and obviously I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know where, but I see it kind of continuing to increase and all that stuff. How do you feel about kind of prices are at right now and kind of if they continue to rise and all that stuff? How does it make you feel?
Well, as an operator, obviously good.
Right.
But there's a lot of constraints, which I agree supports an increase in price. There's a lot of uncertainty in the market right now due to geopolitical events, due to the coronavirus. But there is also a lot of material constraints just due to the bottlenecks.
Talking about like casing, talking about equipment.
Casing is a huge part. Tangible items used to be sizable, but not the key portion of our AFE.
Right.
It used to be all the intangibles, the time, the manpower, the rigs, the directional drilling. Those tangible items are now becoming a huge portion of our AFE.
Okay.
And that's not something you can really whittle down with efficiencies. I mean, literally, the price of casing is up 100% year over year.
So you can't, it's not like you can cut some fat from that.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, you can try and change your casing design, but honestly, most operators, the casing design is what the casing design is because that's the casing they can get.
Okay.
So I think that supports a higher price. And because all the supply constraints, operators really can't drill right now. And there are a number of operators that put into place hedges during 2020, worried about the coronavirus continuing. Well, now those hedges honestly don't look as favorable, and all their capex is tied up selling oil at a lower price than it is today.
Okay.
So the inputs have gone up, but they can't appreciate any of the increase in commodity prices. So they're kind of being squeezed.
Okay.
So normally, I think if this was 2012, no supply constraints, we'd be saying it's
blowing and going,
as many rigs as you can.
Yeah.
And that puts downward pressure on the price, obviously.
Right.
Right now, you can't do that. Either an operator doesn't have the cash to do it because they have hedges in place,
right,
or they just physically can't buy the material.
So it's kind of a weird environment. You're seeing all these, the cheerleaders for $100 oil, $150 all that stuff. You're seeing all this stuff, but it's kind of an uncertain time too, because you're right. You got the super majors who aren't putting rigs to work just because they have to return, cash back to their investors and dividends, and also follow this ESG narrative, right? So, and then you have these smaller independents who, whether they want to pick up a rig and drill and all that stuff, they might not be able to get the equipment they need.
Really, unless you are a large unhedged company, it's difficult to find enough material. If you have the scale and honestly the pockets to go out and find the casing, it's great. You can make a lot of money right now. But for anybody with hedges in place, that's obviously going to squeeze the amount of cash you're making. So you can't just go out and spend a lot to bring in casing that's up 100% year over year.
So this shift in planning your business, right? So it's obviously shifted. I mean, y'all have had to adapt pretty much.
Yeah.
How was that, I guess, for you and your team? I mean, is this one of those things where it's like you go in the office, you're like, oh shit, well, we got to do this now? Or it's like, or is it one of those things you're kind of sitting around talking like, hey, look, we kind of see this happening. We need to plan on this side more. And I mean, what was that like for y'all? Is it kind of respond to kind of what's happening? Or is it kind of like y'all are seeing what's happening and start planning for it?
No, you 100% have to get ahead of this.
Okay.
Because we started, and we honestly did start about 9 months ago because we saw that prices were increasing. And every quarter we were getting new increases. And so we saw the direction it was heading. And so we started putting in, okay, how can we change our casing design to make our casing cheaper? What can we do to our cement design to make our cement cheaper? I mean, getting ahead of all that. And honestly, we've been pretty successful because we've been managing to keep most of our well costs flat, even as our material prices have increased.
Is that through just proper planning?
It's through really changing practices, because some things that look good in a certain price environment no longer look good in a different price environment. It is, but that's what they pay us to do.
Right.
I mean, and it's fun because you're working under the gun. You're really digging.
Everything's changing.
Every
day's not the same.
Yeah.
So how would people, I guess, kind of start prepping? I mean, if they are behind the 8 ball, let's say they didn't start 9 months ago and start kind of looking at this, those smaller independents that are just kind of starting getting active on stuff. How would you, I guess, advise them to, I guess, prep or plan or something like this? Or what should they be looking at right now?
Well, my personal mentality and philosophy is you take your basic well design and then you look at it and you ask, in regards to every little piece of it, is that necessary? Is it necessary for me to bring my cement up that high? Is it necessary for me to run an agitator? Everything has to have a cost justification.
Okay.
And if it doesn't justify its cost, then you cut it.
Okay.
And you should err on the side of cutting rather than on the side of keeping.
It's like cleaning a house, cleaning a room. Does it bring you joy?
Yeah.
Does it bring value? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think if you are just getting started with a drilling program, or if you have a drilling program and you're struggling to contain your costs, you need to look at each individual piece of your well design and say, does this save me money? And if you cannot give a definitive, yes, that saves me money, cut it.
Okay, so that's the operators. So that's a little cheat sheet for the operators out there. What about the service side? I mean, what? I mean, obviously, you're not in their business or anything like that, but I'm just saying, as a service company, whether it's cement, bits, all that stuff, kind of stuff that pertains to you, what do you have for people out there kind of tuning in right now, kind of listening on what they need to be looking out for?
So the service companies are really being squeezed, even the pipe retailers right now, because they sell their pipe for X, but then they have to turn around and buy a pipe for more expensive from the mills. The biggest challenge right now for a lot of the service companies is just finding drivers. And so that's a huge thing with service companies. And me as an operator, if a driver or if a service company can't deliver that to me, then I need to find a different service company.
Right.
And so I would say we recognize that the pricing environment has shifted, but the service can't shift. So I still need cement, and I need it when I call it out.
Right.
I still need bits, and I need them when they call out.
That is such an ongoing issue right now for our industry, is finding drivers and trying to give people to location and all that stuff. I mean, whether it's they show up and they don't show up. I mean, I was talking to some person, and they mentioned that they had 10 applicants, 2 showed up, 1 failed the drug test, 1 got the job, didn't show up to work.
Yeah, it's an extremely common story right now.
Because I mean, you got Walmart or Mickey D's, some offering $18 an hour.
Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's $18 an hour, and you got all these other companies, these truck companies offering 22. They're like, why would I want to do that when I can just do this and be at the house every day at 5?
Exactly, and that's what you're seeing with the trucking side. I mean, Amazon is paying out the wazoo. Long distance trucking. My brother is a truck driver.
Okay.
Hey, brother.
Hey, bro.
And he's doing awesome right now.
Really?
Yeah, because he's willing to drive across country. Right now, you can drive, say, inner city or short distance trucking and do really, really well. So why would I drive down a lease road with my truck at 3 a.m. to get chewed out by a company man for being 30 minutes late?
Dude, so how do we, I mean, that's a great call.
No.
I mean, so how do we, as an industry, kind of recruit and maintain?
I mean, honestly, it's just going to come down to pay.
Cash?
Yeah.
Cash is king?
I mean, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can, especially for items that are skills that are transferable. If I can make as much doing an easier job or doing the same thing effectively, I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
it makes sense. Makes sense.
And so I think when we're looking at these non-unique items, truck driving, you can do it anywhere. It's just going to come down to pay. And that's what, I mean, honestly, that's what brings a lot of people into the oil field.
Which is surprising because you'd expect, I mean, where prices are at now and this, that, but then again, it's weird, you know, like the historical things that move people in the market, that move rigs in the market, it's not, what historically indicates this is going to happen is not that anymore.
Well, you're not seeing that response.
Yeah,
that
which is
operators
weird.
Normally, I mean, like I said, this 2012, we've ramping up. Get as many rigs as you can. Get as much acreage as you can.
Yeah, produce. Yeah. Get it all out. Absolutely.
But we're not seeing that both because, like I said, some companies are capital constrained for whatever reason, or they just can't find the actual material to drill and frack wells.
It's a tough situation to be in.
It is. I mean, they're getting squeezed.
What's the so the conversations you're having with people, with your circles, with your networks and all that stuff, is it optimistic? Is it kind of like, hey, we could be optimistic if we had that chance to be optimistic?
Yeah.
What is it? What is it?
It's a huge mixed bag.
Okay.
Like I talked to some buddies, I mean, that are my
don't
age.
Name them, yeah.
Yeah. And they're talking about getting out of the industry entirely. Like they are tired of this up and down. I mean, you think about it, this is my third or fourth up and down in a relatively short career.
I mean, it really is.
Yeah. And so a lot of guys my age are just saying, I'm tired of it. If I get laid off, I'm done.
So now we have an exodus of people, not just people that are 65 years old and over, but it's, you know, people your age and younger, which is that's also another scary thing to think about.
But then there's another side of people that are extremely optimistic. Oil's $90 a barrel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like it's only a matter of time before the bottlenecks get freed up. And then, I mean, technically, I think we'll be blown and going. Yeah. I mean, we talk about ESG, but honestly, there's a lot of support for natural gas on the ESG side. And oil's not going anywhere anytime soon.
No, it's not. You know, people are, you know, worried about, you know, the price of oil dropping and stuff like that. But like the way things are right now, with demand where it's being at right now, with the capital being constrained the way it is, the ESG movement, the political instability and all stuff, like I don't see this slowing down for many months to over potentially years.
I agree completely because right now, the first thing that has to happen is everything just needs to settle down, or the bottlenecks need to clear out. Once that occurs, with the political instability or the geopolitical risk right now, that's an incentive for operators, honestly, to drill, produce more. With the bottlenecks, that's just something you have to live with. Here in the next year or two, these companies' hedges are going to expire. So now they're going to be appreciating the new price of oil. So they're going to be flush with cash.
Okay.
You think bottlenecks are going to
ease a little bit.
So all of a sudden they're going to be flush with cash with more access to materials. And I think operators will ramp back up as long as the price stays the way it is now.
Things. So so in this past, look, yes, let's talk about, when I say this past downturn, let's talk about 2020 till now. Okay. Obviously, you know, you're a small operator. Y'all blowing and going. Y'all have several rigs throughout different bases. Six rigs. What's been the biggest, I guess, not shock. Shock's not the right word. This is my personal perception. You chime in wherever you want, but I kind of feel like the last 2 years, with everything stopping, slowing down, rigs dropping, all that stuff, it really gave technology a chance to. Before technology was like, yeah, that's nice. Well, we've been doing this way generate, whatever. Like, we don't need that new technology. I feel like technology has kind of taken center stage and has kind of been more of a focal point when it comes to operations, whether it's the data technology, whether it's data analytics, or whether it's real-time monitoring, or whatever. Are you seeing a cool surge in technology or something like that, kind of in your realm?
And you've kind of seen it slowly trickle in over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But now there's a lot more options, and the prices have come down for a lot of these services that used to be prohibitively expensive. And so as these things come down in price, as they start to look better to operators, and just with the manpower constraints we have right now, any way we can automate a person, we're going to look to do that. And you see that, honestly, we saw that first on MWD.
Yeah.
Now you're starting to see it trickle into DD. And I think it's just a matter of time before most operators move to manless directional drilling. The pushback on that is generally an unmanned system that will not outperform a DD. But if all of a sudden that unmanned system, it's consistent, you have consistent well delivery, and perhaps a cost benefit over having a DD out there, then perhaps it can justify itself.
Okay.
But I think there is going to be a continual push to less and less men on location.
Well, you're seeing that with was it Neighbors? They have that automated rig that's kind of coming out. There's obviously a lot of pushback with that, like taking jobs. Like, I don't like taking jobs, but there's also jobs to create that thing.
There is 100%, and you see that across industries.
Yeah.
I mean, there's automotive used to require a lot more men than it did to make a car now. But then there's other jobs created to maintain those machines, and we shouldn't try to stop progress because it's going to happen.
Right. We shouldn't be smashing those mills like they did in the Industrial Revolution. We should kind of think about, okay, so what's the opportunities here?
Exactly.
This is reality. We're not going to slow down reality. We're not going to slow down technology. So what's the opportunities here to create jobs, okay, all right, I'm with that.
And that's been kind of the American way of life, the creative destruction. I mean, well, Alan Greenspan kind of coined the
creative destruction. You should have taken that. I like that. You should have claimed that.
I try to give credit where credit is due, especially when it's Alan Greenspan. But the whole creative destruction that has kind of been the bedrock of America. We jump on one bandwagon and one technology, and it lasts for however many years, and then something comes out, and all of a sudden that replaces that entire technology, and you see a huge pushback as far as a lot of labor is gone. A lot of jobs that used to exist or no longer exist. I mean, matches used to be a key industry in the United States.
What did?
Matches.
Really?
Yeah. Key industry in the United States.
Okay.
When was the last time you bought a box of matches?
I think I saw matches. 2 days ago. I'm buying matches. I mean, you don't really buy matches.
No.
Unless I think you work at a church.
Yeah.
For the candles.
Oh, okay.
For the candles.
Okay. We even used the little click things.
Well, they call those lighters these days. Okay.
The little click sticks.
Yeah, okay, little click sticks. Okay.
Click sticks.
That's a good point. Yeah, you don't see matches. Unless you're a cigar snob that you really like, or they like flames these days. Yeah.
But so I think we're going to see that same creative destruction in the oil industry. I don't think you're going to see as much pushback from the labor side because honestly, not very many people are getting into the oil industry. There's a huge slowdown because, I mean, honestly, the price, like we just said, you can work at Buc-ee's for $18 an hour.
Whether it's the price, whether it's the narrative. I mean, people might be like, yeah, I wouldn't mind a career in the oil and gas industry, but man, everything I'm reading is, you don't want to be in that zone. Yeah, so that's also another challenge we're faced with as an industry.
Yeah, the whole storyline. I agree completely.
Yeah.
I mean, the oil industry, I love the oil industry.
Preaching the converted.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of the few industries where somebody with a high school degree can get out and follow a career path to where they're making more than most college graduates.
It's that's the cool side of it too. But another cool side of it, obviously we can go on and on about the cool side of it, but you're right. Whether you have a high school education or a master's or a doctorate, you know what I mean? What I like about it is that literally, like, if you're in the industry, that kind of ties, I don't care what position you are, where you're located throughout the globe, that kind of ties everyone together. You know what I mean? So I don't care if you're talking to the roughneck, on the floor, or you're talking to the CEO at wherever. Like, there's that common experience. You know what I mean? No one has the same experience either when they come in our industry.
No,
I mean, you're what, civil engineering?
Yeah.
So I mean, I love the fact how it just pools all these people from so many different, diverse backgrounds. You kind of have the same banter, same boat.
Yeah, and it becomes part of who you are. I mean, it's a very unique industry in that way. I would kind of compare it to being like the medical profession, where once you're a doctor, you're a doctor. You're in the medical profession.
Yeah.
Once you're in the oil field, I mean, you're in the oil field. Yeah.
It sticks with you.
Yeah.
Like dope.
Yeah. Even once you leave, and I know a lot of guys that have left, like they still take that mentality and take those skills and take that. I mean, we work hard.
Oh yeah.
And they take that work ethic outside.
Where did you learn your work ethic? I mean, you tell me you work on coal mines, you work highways, you work this. Where did this work ethic come from that I share as well?
Yeah. So when I was 15, my parents gave me a chainsaw for Christmas. And they're like, Brett, my parents call me Brett. We have 5 wooded acres. We need 5 cleared acres.
No.
And so I started selling firewood. So it's just been growing up. Like I was pretty driven at always. And I would get just whatever random job I could. And I swear my dad almost had an agreement with certain people. Whenever I looked like I wasn't going to go to college because I was like, hey, I'm making really good money doing this. Yeah. I would get some job that was absolutely miserable.
You're like, I gotta go to college.
Yeah. This sucks. And so throughout my life, I've always had some job, and I've had some random jobs.
Well, okay, I'll play this game with you. Let's first off, I want to chime in right now because my daughter has a short attention span. Evelyn, my wife tunes in. My beautiful wife, Evelyn and I are watching from home, excited to listen in. Evelyn, don't worry. We already brought up the 20 seconds on the hot water issue with you, and we are going to figure out how to get this fixed for you, okay? We're sorry you have to deal with that. So thanks for tuning in. Daddy loves you. Monica, your hubby loves you too. So, all right, how to chime that in. So give me some random jobs you've had.
Okay, so sold firewood, which was my first boom and bust.
I was a janitor at a church.
I was a janitor.
I was a janitor at a church.
I was a janitor at the ag department at University of Arkansas.
Okay.
Which is a terrible place to be a janitor.
Okay.
I worked at Abercrombie. So I was that.
You worked at Abercrombie?
Yeah. I was that.
So you were the shirtless dude in front with an 8-pack?
Yes, actually.
You were that guy?
Yeah, I was that guy. They gave me a little walkie-talkie that I put right here. I stood there at the front, and I was like, hey.
Welcome in.
They gave me a list of
cologne everywhere?
Oh, it was terrible. But they gave me a list of taglines I had to say.
Like what?
You had to go, there was a list for guys and there was a list for girls.
Like, what's up, bro? How you doing?
Yeah, it was like, hey, check out our hot jeans over here.
You have to use hot jeans.
Oh, they would enforce it. Like they would say, hey.
Can you imagine getting written up like in your current job right now? It's like, Gilbert, sit down. This well was hot. You didn't do that with your vendors. We don't like that. Let's discuss this.
Yeah. So
Abercrombie shirtless.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did that. One job I had is. So on a lot of reclaimed mines, they have to do what are called beetle surveys. So there's an endangered beetle, and you have to collect them and make sure if you're going to disturb this location, you have to make sure there's a certain number of beetles. And you actually have to rehome the beetles if you find any. So
and that was during the crash of the beetle housing market, which was tough to rehome those beetles.
So how you collect these beetles is you drive around on an ATV and you take a dead chicken and you stake it to the ground.
Okay.
With a little cage over it.
Okay.
The beetles crawl into the cage to eat the chicken and can't get out. So I did that for a summer.
Wow. I was a garbage man.
Okay, you got me.
I was a garbage man.
I was never a garbage man.
Yeah, I was a garbage man in the summers, which is pretty brutal because in Connecticut, you had all these literally on a coastal town. Yeah. You had all these people making lobster, clam bakes, and all that stuff. So in the morning, you had that heat. Pretty brutal. Yeah. Pretty brutal. So, okay. All right.
I did not know you were from Connecticut.
Yeah.
That's
I was born in Houston. I grew up in Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
and I went to A&M.
And then you came back. So
yeah.
You don't meet too many people in the oil field from Connecticut.
You don't, but hey, we're a global industry.
Yeah.
We're a global industry.
And we accept everybody.
So janitor, garbage man, beetle reclaimer.
Yeah. Let's see. What other random jobs did I do? I baled hay. I
was a night. No, we're gonna do tit for tat right now. I was a night security guard.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I was a delivery driver at a pharmacy.
I was a flower delivery person in Connecticut.
Okay.
I delivered flowers during the peak season, Christmas times.
We're practically the same person.
We're kind of getting there.
Okay, I was an instructor for the American Concrete Institute on their testing methods.
I'll bet that kicked your asphalt.
That was actually impressive.
I was did that. Oh, I was an assistant manager at Express for Women in College Station.
Wow.
Post Oak Mall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
What was I just thinking of? I was a bagger at a grocery store.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
My first W-2 job.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually paid taxes on that one.
Government.
Yeah.
All right.
Steals money.
So
from
they
high school.
They all do. And then, so I've had a couple of random, kind of coming toward the end of the randomness, but
yeah,
I feel like there's a couple more in there.
For the most part. Then I joined the Army and all that stuff. But
well, I was in the Corps at A&M, so
once again, we're practically the same person.
Thing.
Yeah,
same person.
Your hair is a little more impressive than mine.
Well,
facial.
this is
about all I get.
This is my undercover hair. I'm undercover right now, so that's why it's long.
Yeah.
So no one knows that I'm Special Forces. So all right. So what else you got for us today? What, for example, like out there listening right now, kind of people tuning in right now. Maybe they're looking for some counsel, advice. You've been in several leadership roles. I mean, shit, we can keep going, man. We have half a bottle left, but I mean, well, before we open it up to questions, we're obviously going to take some questions or comments or anything like that from the viewers out there. So let's, what do you got for us? What's your advice?
For, say, like a new engineer?
I don't know. Sure.
Or been like working for a few years.
New engineer working for a few years, life in general, to the oilfield service people out there. Well, what you got for us?
I'd say first, find a good woman to marry.
Amen.
Stay with that one. So, Lindsay, if you're listening, I love you.
Monica, I love you. So, you too, Evelyn?
So, I have 4 children. So,
okay.
Yeah. I got Jameson, Bo, Skylar, Gemma.
Great names, by the way.
Well, thank you. We tried very hard. We wanted to make sure our children hated Scantrons.
Well, my name is James Patrick Charles Johnston Warren. So, how do you think I feel, bro?
Oh, yeah.
Scantrons were
yeah. Dude. Like you're in the extra space. Yeah, so in the oil field, I mean, you meet so many people that have been married 3 times or at least twice. I mean, I think twice is pretty common.
I'm too.
Okay,
I feel like you need one to be true oil field. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I guess I'm not truly there. But
you don't want to get there. You don't want to get there. You're good now. You got 4. No, you're good.
Yeah. I'll be eating rice and beans if I'm on wife number 2. So, yeah, no. So
having a good support, having a good support system, of family, friends. Okay.
Yeah. So having that is key. I'd say, I mean, this industry, there's so many ups and downs, and you just have to learn to roll with them. Honestly, like you have to be pretty optimistic, and so
it's one of those things. I mean, I think that's a great point. It's not just our industry, but a lot of times, I mean, we got so much information in front of us, right? Whether it's news coming from LinkedIn, World Oil, Fox, CNN. You have all this information coming in, all that stuff. Not only that, you could have read 15 things from 15 different articles and stuff. So that's a good point. It's kind of taking a step back and kind of focus on kind of your realm of what you can control, and that's kind of your attitude, your mindset, what you want to kind of waste your effort and energy on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. I mean, we can't be stressed about the things we can't control.
Exactly.
Oil. Tomorrow, somebody could invent some new fuel source.
Yeah.
And the oil field collapse. But I still have the skills and the experiences.
And work ethic.
Yeah, that are transferable.
Right.
And so I think that's across the oil field. I mean, there are a lot of people that are truly worried right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think a healthy caution is always warranted. But at the end of the day, people need energy.
Yep.
There's not a reliable, consistent, easily
transferable. I know.
Yeah. I mean, oil and natural gas are literally almost perfect energy sources as far as the transportability of them and the storability of them.
And to me, those are the two, like, look, you see all these renewables and all that stuff. I'm not against it. It's all energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't like that choosing a camp, but for me, it's the conversations of, can you transport it and can you store it?
Yeah.
If you can't, to me, I'd rather have something I have some insurance,
And something that is relatively inexpensive to produce.
Yeah.
I mean, wells are expensive. And we talk about the cost of wells all the time. But for the amount of energy you get for the capital involved, it's really amazing.
Yeah.
And that's why with a lot of the ESG movement right now and discussing the third world, I've been to a lot of the third world. Am I really going to tell somebody there that's burning a wood fire that
or stung in their saying like, oh, you got to get some wind turbines here.
You need wind turbines that are not as consistent, more expensive, and
that's called the Stephen Forrester, who I had on one of my podcasts. He called it the Mountaintop Mentality. Do as I say, not as I do.
Oh yeah, and you look at America. I mean, and all the developed nations, we have built our civilizations on fossil fuel, and honestly, I don't see that as a bad thing. And so the propagation of fossil fuels, I think, is actually good for the rest of the world. I mean, you are literally bringing people out of darkness.
The energy poverty.
Yes.
Yep.
And you see that. I mean, anybody who thinks oil and gas are terrible needs to go down to Guatemala or needs to go to sub-Saharan or Saharan Africa and see extreme poverty. And then you tell them, well, you need to install some solar panels. That is the most irritating thing.
That is tone deaf, and that is so disconnected.
And inconsiderate. Yep. I mean, just uncaring.
Inconsiderate, yeah.
Yeah. And so with a small, relatively inexpensive power plant, you can power an entire village, country, really. And natural gas and oil can fuel all that easily.
Yeah.
But we're going to harp on renewables, and I agree with you. I think everything has its place.
Everything has its place, but here's the deal: if you're having conversations, I've stressed this before. I love healthy energy conversations. I love people that don't understand what the oil and gas, our industry does, what the oil and gas industry does, or the benefits of hydrocarbons in our everyday life. You know what I mean? I love having healthy conversations. Like, well, I understand your point, but you see this, like this is it's the camp conversations I can't stand. You know what I mean? Like, well, oil and gas is just bad. It's like, dude, you're talking to me like that on your cell phone. Like, bro, you literally drove. You literally ordered Uber Eats to get there. You're not having these holistic conversations about the mining that takes, to create the batteries, to create the wind turbines. So if we're having a conversation, have the cradle to the grave conversation.
Yeah. And we're talking about this as a very, very wealthy country.
Yeah.
That it can afford inefficient energy, honestly. I mean, and you look at Germany. They completely phased out their nuclear. They're in the process of phasing out oil and natural gas. And their energy prices have skyrocketed. Well, they're a wealthy country. They can afford to do that. If they want to do that, if their people vote in those policies effectively, then more power to them. They can vote themselves into poverty.
You can make your own bed.
Yeah. But when we sit up here on our mountaintop and tell, country and developing nation that, no, you really need to use solar panels.
Yeah.
Or your carbon emissions are going to exceed what we've determined is going to be good for your country.
Yeah.
It's just
bogus.
Yeah.
It's bogus. Yeah. I dig that. Okay. All right. So we are coming up on 55 minutes of talking with Gilbert. And obviously, if anyone wants to connect with Gilbert, you can reach him in LinkedIn, Brett Gilbert. Obviously, you can go that. And obviously, check out the previous Breakfast Runs that are on the Crew Tube. You heard that right, the Crew Tube. I changed it up. So
I like it.
You can check that out there. But if anyone has any questions or anyone wants to chime in with any thoughts, either it's from this conversation or you're at the house and kind of you've been there all day and you're with your wonderful support system, but you kind of want to chime in and have a little conversation, go ahead. We're going to kind of leave this open for a couple more minutes if anyone wants to talk right now. Let's kind of scroll through this. All right, real quick. So what do you think about this? Fun?
Yeah,
good time?
It's a pretty good time.
You
and the wine is fantastic.
The wine's, and the place.
Great venue.
We all live. Yeah. Sure, great place. All right. Let's see.
And I learned you're from Connecticut, and we're practically the same person.
We are literally this
professionally.
Professionally.
You've taken another step, so now I need to start a podcast.
What would it be called?
The Gilbert Show.
Gossiping with Gilbert.
Oh, there we go. Except
Gilbert's gossip.
That's a sin.
Well, you don't have to use it. Just how about this? We don't have to term gossip as gossip. Okay. Man, tough. Just go with it, man. We're live. You have to correct me on this show. We got Bobby tuning in. Good afternoon from Edmond. Hope you're staying warm up there. Obviously, we heard. I got to bring this up again. Thank you, Derek.
Bobby, I used to live off Waterloo and Sooner.
Really?
until I was 14. Lived in Edmond.
So I started Crew Club up in Oklahoma, and I've only been up there twice. I was supposed to go there this week, but the snow.
Yeah.
I love Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma
so
City
much.
is a lot of fun. That whole Bricktown area.
Bricktown, the people are cool. The food is great. It's got a cool vibe. It's like Fort Worth. It's like steaks and wine.
I would
you know what I mean?
say it's very similar.
Yeah, like steaks and wine and brick. Yeah, I dig it. All right, so Derek, I love you too, brother. Hooah! There we go. All right, we have Jacob tuning in from Edmond as well, Unit Drilling Company. All right, Rob saying great discussion.
Wow.
Well, we ask all
Thank you, Rob.
all the hot topics here on breakfast runs. All right. Michael Middleton. When I owned a OTR refrigerated trucking company, it was impossible to compete with the money drivers can make driving the oil field. How have things changed? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
I mean, I was trying to get my brother into the oil field, and he got a job offer on the spot, making a lot of money. 6 months later, he's like, I'm not
good.
doing that. Yeah.
Man. And a lot of it too, I mean, going back to what we already just talked about, it's also like one of those like, people think like oil's dead. You know, like, peak, I don't want to get into that. Everyone hates it. It's like, dude, no, like, oil and gas industry is not dead. Peak oil thing. It's just a horrible narrative you got to just deal with, you know? But I just try to stay positive, like literally having conversations like this, bringing people on that do sit, on the rig side of things or sit on the completion, the frac side. I love having these conversations because maybe someone's tuning in who doesn't know much about oil and gas. Like, what's this? Gilbert, I have the same name as Brett Gilbert. And tune in, they're like, oh, wow, maybe they're not all evil or bad people. You know what I mean? So this is kind of like, this is also one of those steps to kind of try to help tell our own story in our own different way. So,
you mentioned peak oil, so I thought I'd throw this in here. I was actually reading Daniel Yergin's new book, something about maps. I can't really remember. He wrote The Prize and he wrote The Quest.
Yep.
Fantastic books.
Great books.
So his newest book, he's discussing peak demand. So no longer peak oil because the world is awash with oil.
Yeah, yeah.
And so now they're talking about peak demand because of the whole renewables, the ESG push, and just the new global landscape.
But that's interesting. Peak demand. Talk to me about that a little bit.
So the thought is,
we got time, brother.
Yeah, the thought is,
what else you got to do?
Yeah, it's Friday afternoon.
Friday. We're at We Olive.
Yeah.
Give a shout out.
Give them a little plug.
But
yeah, so the world with the unconventional revolution, because it truly changed the global landscape of oil and gas.
Okay.
The world is awash with oil. And now countries are actually starting to put restrictions though on its consumption. And so we have more oil than countries are really allowing the use for.
Okay.
Or that's kind of the prediction, is that eventually we're going to move to a spot where we have enough oil. It's not going anywhere.
Okay.
We can find more. But there's no demand for that oil. And so that's kind of what he's predicting, or what he is discussing, is kind of the next phase of this development.
Interesting.
Yeah, because since the 70s, I think the peak oil originally was coined in the 70s.
So I heard.
Okay, if I'm wrong, you can
I think there was a scientist in the. I think the 70s is right. Okay, I feel like the 70s is right, but I also feel like it was also discussed maybe in a paper like in the late 50s or 60s. And I'm not being that guy that's like, well, actually, but I feel like there was discussed then, but in the 70s, that's I think when that person kind of wrote their thesis or paper, but whatever it was. So
we're within 20 years.
We're in 20 years. Same people. Different
and
discussion.
We can't Google it because your phone's right there.
So. And we don't Google. I'm tired of fact checking. I'm tired of Googling.
I like to just argue.
Yeah, me too.
So let's put your phones away.
Put the facts away.
Yeah,
we can argue better.
Yell each other down.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the way men were meant to be.
But you're right. It's been around for 40, 50 years now.
Yeah, and each time we talk about peak oil, the price of oil goes up, and all of a sudden reserves that were uneconomic at one price are now economic again. So there's more oil. But now there's so much oil in the world, and countries are starting to restrict its use.
Right.
So right now we're not seeing, obviously, oil's $90.
Yeah.
But we're talking long-term development. Are we going to reach that point where we have more oil than we have demand? So, because, you think about this most recent downturn. This was not a supply side thing.
We're talking about 2020? We're talking 2020. Backing up to like 2016?
No,
okay.
2020.
All right.
So this was not a supply side thing. We weren't oversupplying the market. There was a demand cut. because people were no longer driving. So it's much more similar to when a war ends. So, you know, during World War II, there was a huge demand for petroleum products. After World War II, that demand disappeared.
Okay.
Virtually overnight, over the course of a couple months, really, but whatever. And so there's a huge drop in price. It's more similar to that than it was when the oil companies oversupply the market. So, yeah, so it's a little bit.
Do you read a lot?
Yes.
Are you audible, or are you actually like?
So both, because we don't have a TV, so there's literally nothing in my house that we can do except for read.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you read and do audible. So what kind of books are you what kind of books do you dig?
So I primarily read nonfiction, and my wife gives me crap all the time about it because I really kind of got to the point where when I read fiction, it's almost like
a waste of time.
A waste of time, and just kind of like, I'm watching a soap opera.
Yeah,
I might as well be watching.
No,
Friends.
And that's the thing too. So my wife and I are reading now, at the house too, and it's one of those things where it's like I don't mind diving the nonfiction road, but like to me, it's like, man, if I'm reading something, I don't want to do something where it's like you get some tool, you get something from it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah,
it builds you up.
Or you discuss something more with a little more certainty or confidence. Yeah.
So I agree. So I do a lot of
nonfiction. Biographies, what?
Biographies. I like business books. I like books on economics.
Okay.
So that was the Alan Greenspan quote that came from Capitalism in America. Yeah, fantastic book by Alan Greenspan.
Okay.
I read a lot of books on investing because I also invest in real estate. So always looking to learn more about real estate. So it kind of helps balance out the downturns in oil. When it
doesn't make it as scary. It doesn't make that roller coaster drop.
It always helps when you have some rent money coming in.
All right.
Yeah. Definitely not at the point in real estate where I want to be, but hopefully someday I'll get there.
Brother.
Yeah. And read a lot of historical books.
What historical time frame do you like? Do you like World War II? Do you
Honestly, I read
Aztecs?
a pretty broad range. I love ancient history.
I do too.
I love World War II, so I read a lot of Stephen Ambrose, obviously.
Okay.
Because it's Stephen Ambrose, Band of Brothers. I mean, come on.
Dude, one of the best. I do this to sound smart. One of the best books, but also a great series.
Yes, 100%.
David Schwimmer in that series is great.
I don't know.
Remember David Schwimmer? He was the drill sergeant.
No.
Okay, we got to rewatch it. We got to rewatch it. That's a cold weekend watch.
I don't know.
The dude from Friends, Ross.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Captain Sobel.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the guy you never want to be in history. You never want to be the guy that becomes Captain Sobel.
Can you imagine? You imagine Captain Sobel's family, like, wherever they are right now, is like, that's not how Grandpa was.
Well, honestly, when you read farther into it, you're like, it really was how he was. And he died kind of lonely. So it's, you just
don't be Captain Sobel.
Don't be Captain Sobel. If you get anything from this conversation,
don't be so. Yeah. Don't have your ego make all your decisions.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be wrong.
It's 100% okay to be wrong.
Are you okay getting wrong?
Yeah, I'm 100%. I'm wrong on a regular basis, and so you just got to roll with it. And hopefully you're right more than you're wrong. But if it's the other way, just be humble enough to admit it.
So So you've been in this career. You've had a couple roles and all this stuff. I mean, you love drilling side of things, right? You dig that. So flash forward 15, 20 years right now. What would be a cool goal or situation that you're in? Is it your own company? I mean, do you want that? Or is it kind of getting grouped with your friends and starting your own thing, or just staying with Trinity and working at? Obviously, there's no wrong answer. You don't have to answer this and all that stuff. But this is kind of.
I'm retired on Barbados because.
Barbados.
Yeah, we sold our private equity back.
There you go. You're still getting that rent money and the real estate money coming in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. No, I really do love this industry.
And
honestly, I don't know if I'll ever retire just because, I mean, you'd never know. I'm 34. Fast forward 30 years and I'll be like, I'm done with this.
Maybe, man. I don't know. It seems like you have a really good mindset when it comes to kind of centering yourself, which I think that's such a good quality to have. Not just in our industry, but kind of in the world right now. It's just like, I dig the energy you put in. You've been at several. I'm just talking right now. You've been at several crew club events, and it's always funny, having you there because when you're there, it's like you're networking with a group. And next thing you know, you're networking with this other group. You're always talking. You're such a good person to be around because you just enjoy engaging with people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You enjoy talking to people, learning about people, and I see that. I think that's such a great quality to have.
Yeah, I really appreciate that because sometimes I'm worried like I jump around too much because I just really enjoy meeting people and I enjoy getting to know people. Like, I didn't know you were from Connecticut. I like you more now that I know you're from Connecticut.
Why?
I mean,
Most people don't.
Well, just because it's something unique and special about you.
That's who I am, buddy.
Yeah, you went from Connecticut to the core.
Went from Connecticut to the core to France.
Whoa!
So I got my master's in France.
Yeah.
Moved to Texas. I couldn't find a job for 6 months.
Wow.
It was during the Monster.com days, and got set up with a staffing firm, right? And they sent me to Noble.
Okay.
And I told this story on my podcast before, but anyway, they sent me to Noble. So I'm like, shit, I know Noble. My old roommate from college is Noble, you know. So I go to Noble. I'm like, hey, I'm here to meet Joe Nye. Like, oh, that guy doesn't work here. Like, are you sure you're in the right place? I'm like, yeah, it's Noble, right? And I was like, yeah, sir. Are you sure you're in the right place? I'm like, listen, I have an interview. I've been looking for 6 months for a job. I have an interview at Noble Drilling for a job. Like, oh, sir, this is Noble Energy. And I was like, what's the difference? I didn't know the difference.
Yeah.
So I had to hook it all the way down to Sugar Land from Guns Point.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where I started off, HR 10.
Well, that's awesome.
HR
I mean, that's a good story. Like you in Connecticut, core, France, unemployed to Noble Drilling.
That's it.
So,
That's it.
See, that's
HR, HSC, ops. So then I left there, went to Saudi Arabia for a year with Archer.
That's cool.
Then I got in sales.
Well, they say that's a good story, and that's why I like getting to know people because you find out, so many good stories.
So, what do you do? Okay, so Cameron Clark, man, I miss that guy. Undaunted Courage by Ambrose.
Yeah, about the Lewis and Clark expedition.
Okay.
Yeah.
I dig that. I'll probably get into that then. What you got going on this weekend?
This weekend, honestly, so my two oldest boys, who are 7 and 5, were climbing the fence between my neighbor's yard, and they got to rocking on it. And next thing you know, my fence is like that. And so I'm going to be fixing a privacy fence. Yeah.
In this beautiful weather.
Hey, at least I won't be hot.
Okay. All right. You gonna make them help you and all that stuff?
They'll at least stand out there and shiver.
I would do that too. Yeah. Make them hold the flashlight. Do the dad.
Yeah.
Hold the flashlight. You don't need to yell at them. You're going wrong.
Yeah. 100%. Give me the hammer. Wrong hammer.
Wrong. Yeah. All right. So you're fixing a fence. I dig that,
so,
man. What else are you going to Nape at all? What's going on in your anything's?
No, I really don't have to think. I know the what is it? The energy technology is February 12th. Or February 11th, I know you're going to.
Oh, the Energy Tech Night.
Energy Tech Night.
Digital Wildcat Energy Tech Night. That's coming up.
Yes.
I think I'm in town. Either I'm in town or I'm going to be in Midland.
Okay.
I'm going to try. If I'm in town, If I'm in town, I'm going to that.
Okay. Yeah.
Those are usually great events.
So.
And that's the thing. That's like you're seeing all this cool technology stuff, and that's the place to go see it. Like you see this really amazing everyday style technology kind of working its way in the oil field. It's kind of cool watching. So.
Yeah, and I mean that's where you're going to see it. It's all these little startups.
Yeah.
I think about drilling info in 2013, 2014.
Yes.
Like it was this clunky thing that I hated. Interverse.
Yeah.
However you pronounce it.
Yeah, whatever.
Get on drilling info in 2018, and you're like, this is the greatest thing
new ball
ever. I absolutely love it. And to this day, I'm like, that's a part of my workflow now.
Yeah.
And so there's just another drilling info out there, and it's just a matter of time.
Before it just kind of makes those little...
Yeah, before it becomes part of our workflow.
I agree. Yeah. I dig it.
Well,
everyone, this is Gilbert. I want to thank you for your time, brother. I really enjoyed it. I always enjoy hanging out with you, man. Always do. It's always... You bring a certain energy out, a certain light on. I dig it. A certain optimism. I like it. I dig it. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I hope everyone has a safe weekend. Whether you're building fences or whether you're not going to a canceled basketball game like our family, and just looking to kind of stay active. So everyone, thank you for tuning in to Breakfast Runs with Wine with JP and Gilbert. And we hope everyone has a great rest of the weekend. Stay safe. And if anyone wants to contact with him, again, it's Brett Gilbert. You can find him on LinkedIn, shoot him a note, say hello. And that's it. All right. And we are getting out now. Wait. Cameron, don't threaten me with a good time, buddy. We need to. It's been too long. All right, everyone. We'll talk to you all soon.